Coming up, Weird EPCOT. Welcome to the SeeWDW Near and Far podcast, where we explore perspectives of the Walt Disney World Resort from 10 to 1,000 miles away. I am Mike the Far in this equation.
And I'm John the Near.
All right, today we are going to wrap up our series of weird things that have to do with the Disney parks, and specifically that means Disney weird. Today we're going to talk a little bit about EPCOT, but first, John, how'd your week in the parks go?
As per usual, I went to the park one time this week, and it was last Sunday, and I have not been back since. But let's see, I ended up going to Animal Kingdom. I knew the crowds would be high, but I figured Animal Kingdom is a park I haven't been to in a while. I've been to the Magic Kingdom very recently. I've been to EPCOT, and I've been to Hollywood Studios. So it was just time to go back. But I have to tell you, the crowds, and this is, I guess, spring break / Easter crowds. It was very, very crowded. And I ended up not riding on anything. Like, I found it difficult to even walk there for the most part. But I did see Kevin go by, which is a benefit of going when it's busy, because they always send her out to and entertain the crowds. And I still say that is a really cool character to see. I didn't see Divine, though. I was hoping on a busy day I might see Divine, but I really haven't seen many people talk about her in a while. So again, maybe that's something they quietly got rid of her. I don't know.
I hadn't seen her my last couple visits, so I don't know what's going on there.
I just thought a busy day, my timing, like there's a good chance I might see her, and I did not. But So I got a few pictures, I got a few videos. I decided it's too crowded to really do any rides. So while I was there, I got lunch at Satui Canteen, which, that kind of that was my rationalization to go to Animal Kingdom at all. It's like, well, I know it's going to be crowded. I know I probably won't get on any rides, but I can have some of the best quick service lunch anywhere in any of the parks. So I mobile ordered, which still works well at Satui Canteen. And I got just so if anybody's interested, I usually get the chopped wood grilled chicken. And then for the base, a hearty salad. And then my sauce, black bean vinaigrette. And man, that's just perfect. It is so good. And the hearty salad seems to change. Like, sometimes there's broccoli and cauliflower in it, sometimes there's not. I feel like whatever vegetables they can get, it changes over time. But I've never had a bad one. Some I like a little more than others, but they're all just great. So, and of course I say that now, and I did not eat lunch yet today. Now I have to look at
You're just going to torture yourself there, John. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, see, in this case, there were bigger leaves and stuff, and they always do a little bit of I think it's quinoa in there, and they put some boba on it with some kind of coleslaw stuff. But the chicken is just so well done. You can smell this chicken a lot of times too, because they cook it over an open fire, and
Hmm.
you can smell it outside even. So, but yeah, it is just a delicious meal. And like I said, this time the greens were a little bigger than they normally are. But again, like I said, the salad changes subtly over time depending on availability, but it's always good. And I've never tried any of the other bases. I often think I should, but the salad is so good. Um, but they do have rice and black beans. That doesn't sound bad. Red pepper and sweet potato hash. My wife has tried that, and I didn't love it. They put a lot of onions in that, and so it really wasn't a favorite of mine. And the noodles I never tried either. So, but for some, I tend to lean towards salads because I find it difficult to get a good salad anywhere, and this
Hmm.
really has it. So, and yeah, my wife had already gotten the grilled beef and then the red pepper and sweet potato hash, but she didn't love it though. Like she can eat it, but she ended up picking at the potatoes because she didn't want, uh, too many onions and stuff. So she really didn't like it that much. But I still say it's one of the best places to eat. But you can get a little idea of some of the crowds there, like in Pandora. It's one of those days where there's really nowhere to walk. You're always going to be behind somebody. And I did see the lineup for on my way over. I saw the lineup for Festival of the Lion King, which I still haven't seen yet since it reopened. And as I walked by, the line went all the way down near the entrance to Pandora. So those people were not getting in that show anyway. So I was like, yeah, I'm not waiting for that either. I do like being the last person in there, but I didn't think it was going to happen on that day. So basically, I left after that. I mean, before I left, I took a few shots of the gift shop just because I really like the architecture and carvings.
Yeah, I just did that recently on our trip. Some video of all that stuff, and never did anything with it. But all the stuff that you're showing right there of the ceiling and some of the animals on top of the display cases and or displays and everything, I took like video of a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, the amazing thing is, even way up in the lighting area, like where nobody ever looks, there's elaborate artwork hung up there, and I'm like, nobody's looking. Look, here's hatchets. It's like,
Yeah,
what? I never saw that till right this minute. There's hatchets there with like
isn't it?
stone at the bottom. They're like stone hatchets. I'm like, just amazing detail they put into all these shops. So
So
I
many cool things that just are not, most people don't even notice that detail, but I gotcha.
I
It's just
imagine.
awesome.
Yeah, and again, this is something that you're not going to ever see again. So I just have an appreciation for it. Disney now would say, "Well, what movie is this elephant from? How are we gonna how are we gonna push that in there?" So, and yeah, just I do love Animal Kingdom for that great reason. Just the aesthetics of it. And before I left, I took a picture of the dragon out front too. I'm
Hmm.
always fascinated about Beastly Kingdom and what could have been there because I have a feeling that would have been everybody's favorite part.
I
So
agree.
I never quite made it. But I left Animal Kingdom from there, but I didn't go home because I was only there for like an hour. So I decided that I am going to drive to Animal Kingdom Lodge on the bus. And this is a little bit funny. My experience with buses at Disney, I have really bad luck with them, and I'll mention it now because I might forget later. But I figured the closest park is Animal Kingdom, so usually the bus is so easy to get back to there. Well, I was waiting at the bus stop, and Animal Kingdom was, I think, the last bus to get there out of Magic Kingdom and EPCOT and downtown Disney. They all showed up, and I'm like, all right, it's no big deal. It's only like 10-minute wait. So I ended up waiting, and then the bus came, and somebody in a scooter came immediately to get on it, and the bus driver was not real good at scooters. And I'm like, this is the only bus that got a scooter. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. No big deal. No big deal. Then we go out to the highway, and she's in the left turn lane, and the left arrow is not coming on through multiple lights. And she said, sorry, folks, there's a problem with the light. I have to call it in. So she calls to the Disney bus transportation, and I'm like, oh, it's all right. It's all right. They'll get there. Like, and then she's like, they basically told her, when it's safe, pull out and go straight and take this alternate route or whatever. I mean, you could have turned around right there, but she went down, went by McDonald's,
Oh,
went out, made a left, came back up. And I'm like, it basically took me about a 30-minute bus trip to get back to the Magic Kingdom. And I'm like, the entire reason I did all this stuff was for that reason. Like, literally, I'm like, it's so close that it's not a bad thing. Go to the end. And it's like, not when I'm involved. It as long as any bus ride you could ever have it. Animal at the Disney parks. But again, that's exactly why I always say I'm just not a big fan of Disney transportation. And again, nothing the bus driver did, nothing against the person in the scooter. I have complete empathy for them. I'm not mad at them at all. But after all these years, Disney still just can't. It felt like it took about 10 minutes of just doing stuff. I'm like, you've never come up with a quicker way to just tie down a scooter yet. I'm like, it's amazing, because I'm always thinking of new efficient ways to do things, and I'm like, they've never changed that at all. But
what gets me though is when it comes to Animal Kingdom Lodge, being that close to Animal Kingdom, there's no walking trail. I mean, shouldn't there be? There is an internal bus loop at Animal Kingdom Lodge, so you could take that internal bus loop to the central house and go on a walking path. I mean, I never understood that. That's crazy to me. As close as the places are. How hard would it be to make a walking path from where the bus loop is to Animal Kingdom Lodge?
you would think it'd be very easy, but they just don't do it. And on that same note, too, they gave a letter to people staying at the Polynesian, saying that the walking path between the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian was going to be closed now too, but they said permanently for some reason. And I'm like, I waited years for that path to be done, and now they're shutting it down everywhere they can. And they also are, I think they're going to turn the road there into a 4-lane highway, and so they don't want anyone crossing it. But there is such thing as a pedestrian bridge, but that would be expensive.
Yeah.
So, but I guess they said that the DVC construction won't be ready till like 2027 or something. So there's no date. It's basically it's just closed. There's no you can't do it. And it's like, and they closed the walking path between Shades of Green and the Polynesian too, which I guess all the people staying at Shades of Green loved. And I'm like, that's just terrible that they would do such a thing. Like I can't believe. And again, I know a lot of people didn't use it, but I tried to get pictures and videos of the egg at the Grand Floridian, and I just gave up. I literally, I walked all the way up the monorail path, and it didn't move the whole time. And then they told me to go in the back because the front was reserved for something or other. There was not a single space anywhere back, so I would have had to stand in, pushed against somebody, and then stop at the Contemporary, and then stop at the Polynesian, and then get to the Grand Floridian. And if they're operating like they were at the Magic Kingdom, it's going to be a painful process every step of
Yeah.
that way. I just turned around and left. I'm like, I'm taking the express monorail and I'm going home, and I'm not getting that footage anymore. It's they've made it too difficult to get there. I'm not interested. I just walked away. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah. The
that's
resort monorails.
transportation over the past couple of weeks. I barely go there, but when I do, I haven't been on a bus in over a year. And you heard what happened when I get on one. Is it unusual? I'd have to say it's probably not. But
That's crazy.
so anyway, I got off at Kidani because it's the first stop. Since they're DVC, they take them there first, even though they go right past the Jumbo House. But I decided to walk through there a little bit. The lobby's nice. It's very small, but it's still nice. Um, I did not get any Sanaa lunch, although I do love Sanaa.
Hmm.
It's been a while, so um, I just looked around there a little bit, and then I decided that I'm going to walk back to Jumbo House because unlike the other places, Jumbo House actually has a walking path. It's easy to get back to it, and not that far either. Um, I think this is a newer Animal Kingdom Lodge hat. I really liked it, but $35.99. They're getting a little outrageous with their pricing. So, and I just wanted to point out a couple of little things here. Like there's this room off the lobby that's very pretty. Like it's basically just a room to sit in. There's chairs, there's tables. There's a balcony. It overlooks the savannah outside. A television in there. I guess this would be like where you'd be waiting to check in. I never noticed it before, honestly. So I thought it was pretty cool. I stopped there because somebody was sleeping on the chair next to me, and didn't want to record sleeping people. So, but this is the view from outside there. They had some Coley cattle and some birds and other things, whatever they are. And what else I noticed was that I thought was pretty cool. The elevators are really cool in the lobby. Like I never
Hmm.
noticed it before, but look at the color on them and stuff. Like in person, they're even better. They're like this green color and they're so shiny. I thought that was really pretty. So from there, I left and I walked back to the Jumbo House, which is probably only like a 5 or 10 minute walk. And the Jumbo House is the one I'm used to a lot more. So very, very, very pretty lobby and very pretty space. So I think the last time I was here, it was very empty because of the shutdowns and stuff. But yeah, I just love the lobby there.
It is nice, and that is a much bigger lobby, and even the animal viewing area is quite a bit bigger off of that lobby.
Yeah, and I went up to the higher floors. You can see the bridge back here. I ended
Yeah.
up
Hmm.
when you first walk in, if you go to the right, you can go up to the second floor. Then you can go to your left, and there's another one that takes you up to the third or fourth floor, or I guess that's the third floor there. So that's the one that I did, and you're allowed to do it. So it's nice though to get pictures up there by the bridge, and it's just a nice view. And again, it's not a lot of stairs. It's fairly, but the view is pretty from up there. You can see there's the outside viewing area and the outside fire pits. And very pretty resort, but I know
It's
we're
an
probably
awesome resort. The only thing I'll say is the rooms at this point could use a little bit of an update, but
so you're saying you would like them to change it to like a Howard Johnson feel, or you
no,
think
not at all. That's true.
Marriott, Marriott
I
with a picture of like a rabbit on the sheet or something? I don't know.
No, I would say maybe replace the things that they currently have with things that are the exact same, except, newer and like cleaner.
So you mean like the Hilton?
I mean, like, just get rid of the carpet and put down hardwoods.
No, I can't understand you. So you mean so you don't mean like a Marriott, right?
I don't mean like a Marriott, no. But you're absolutely 100% right. All the updates have been going away from theming into Marriotts. I've even made that comment on social media a couple times. So
Yeah, look how pretty these lights are. When they
yeah.
get up, you'll probably see the same ones they use at Lowe's. So I did take
it
a
is a
quick walk
great,
through because I really like the gift shop. I
yeah.
always found the gift shop fascinating.
It's a great gift shop just because of the different things alone that are in there, that you won't find anywhere else.
Yeah, I always like the gift shop.
Yeah.
I don't even know why exactly, but
yeah, it's got a lot of cool different things. Native craftsmen from Africa make things for them, and they'll put them in there.
yeah. Speaking of that too, the cultural representatives are back now, which
Thank
happened
goodness.
just over the last few days. So that's nice too.
Yeah,
It
that
was
is great.
always extremely interesting to talk to people who live in Africa. Like I I always found that fascinating because I my American assumption used to be I thought they would be happy here, and a lot of them missed home and were like, I can't wait to go back, and I'd be like, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Boma. Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Yeah, I just unbelievable the design and architecture in that place. Again, like you said, they're not making stuff like that anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be allowed to make this resort at all anymore. So
No.
best to enjoy it while we can. There's Chico. I've never eaten there yet, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's really not a lot else I did there. Just a few pictures, the outside viewing area and stuff. But overall, that's about it for my trip. I took a 30-minute bus ride to get back to the Animal Kingdom, and I could have walked to in about 2 minutes, but
Yeah.
Disney transportation.
Yep.
So
Next bus 10 minutes. Trip ends up being a half an hour. Oh well.
yeah, I wanted to say too. We were my wife was at the City Walk on what day was it? On the 4th. I think that's when Super Mario came out. So they actually had the cart there, or the Super Mario van there. They had it there as a prop. So I thought that was interesting. But,
Yeah, very cool.
yeah, and then they have Luigi on one side and Mario on the other. But that's about it for my time at the parks.
All right. All right, John. Great. Glad you got to go back to Animal Kingdom Lodge. Always a great place to visit. Just to tidy up something, last week, I believe, I said that the extra evening magic hours were on Tuesday for EPCOT. They're actually on Monday. So just to correct that mistake, is on Monday. So to go back to what you said last week, John, where they're trying to shove people through Cosmic Rewind, I'd say that's probably true. Something is definitely changing there. So, there was something else I was going to mention too, but it slips my mind. But that thing was the important thing I noticed. I made a mistake on that one. So, in any case, this week we're going to talk about weird EPCOT. And EPCOT was founded on kind of a weird premise for the time when Walt came up with the concept. Anyways, he was going to actually literally make a city there, which was going to be used as a prototype for cities in the future, including monorails and ways to get around the cities, transport, all kinds of things such as that. Such as like a people mover and things like that in his prototype. What Epcot actually turned into was something way different, which was more or less closer to what a World's Fair was, where companies would use Epcot to test out concepts and test out products, sponsor attractions. Countries would use Epcot as a way to promote their season, their landscapes and their tourism. So that's what we're going to deal with here. Like I said, it's a strange concept to begin with, particularly at the time of the 50s and 60s when Walt was coming up with these concepts, and even a strange thing for a theme park when it was actually put together. The first thing I wanted to talk about, John, was the experimental side of Epcot, kind of what we talked about, where sponsors would come in and more or less use Epcot as a living laboratory. They introduced experimental technologies and things of that nature, the concepts for new products, and used it as a testing lab almost with the consumers within the park. And so not only did they get to promote their companies and get to promote their products, they also got to use it as a test market.
Yeah,
So that was great, John.
I thought one of the best examples of that was, and I wish I lived here earlier than I did, because I loved how they use segways in the you could ride them for free in the interventions. It was the showcase, and at that time that was a pretty cool technology. And on top of that, you could also book tours all around Epcot, and even I think Fort Wilderness had one where they had off trail ones, and
Yep.
it was kind of cool. And I know it's not Walt's original idea of Epcot or anything, but it was a very cool thing that felt like the World's Fair. Like you said, like, here's a technology that, have I ever ridden a Segway before? No. Have I ever thought about buying one? No. But I can try one here, and I could even book tours with them. And man, that was so cool.
Yeah.
But that's gone now. And in case you're wondering, this video I think is from 2019. It's just
yeah, because you have mouse gear in there, and I was kind of like, yeah. So, I mean, I do remember early email too. Do you remember they had the email concept in there?
Yeah.
And they also had companies come in there and partner up in interventions with, like, Glidden did a paint lab or something to that effect. They had a lot of stuff like that. And you're right, John, that is gone now. Although I will say, they still have General Motors as a sponsor, for their test track. I don't know how much of the experimentation that they're doing there. I don't think they're doing a lot of that, but it's still using a test market, because you still have that kind of like car lot sales type deal at the end of the ride, and they're putting their latest and greatest cars and technology in there. But short of that, I don't really think they're doing a lot of that type of thing.
Well, they are rebuilding one of the interventions buildings, but I don't know if they're probably not using it the way they used to. Basically, they tore down a building. They're putting up a building right where it was. And I don't think there's any details, at least not that I know of, as to why they're doing that. But
yeah, I think you're right.
I would love to see a little bit more of that. They even had different products for hurricanes. They had the Home of the Future, which showed all the new technology that was coming, and just a
Yep.
lot of really cool stuff. And when my daughter was younger, um, the one interventions had how to spot a fire, where they teach kids about spotting and preventing fires. And they had the great savings escape. Like there was like piggy bank game that taught you how to save money. And there was one about trash and how the garbage company works. And it was sponsored by the garbage company. I'm
Yeah,
like,
by waste management.
yep, that was really cool. And again, I really enjoyed those little things, and but like you said, unfortunately, those little things are just not there anymore. Now they're yeah,
Yeah, yeah, went away. I think during the festivals, some of the festivals, anyhow, the festival kitchens and things like that are almost like test kitchens, so you might get a little bit of that there. I can't really point to a lot of examples where those foods ended up in a restaurant or anything like that at Epcot or around Disney World, but I still think that the concept would really work well there, and I hope they bring it back for interventions. When they actually build that, they're calling it interventions, right? I mean, they're still calling it that, from what I could
yeah.
see.
I don't know. There people are calling it that at least, so I
Yeah.
hope so. But
So I will say that as far as a legacy of that experimentation, what Walt and Walt's concepts for transportation have really, like, they were so well before their time. Like, if you go to places like the Northwest, right, in the United States, you see monorails, you see, a lot of the public transportation concepts that Walt dreamed up of his city for tomorrow. I'm not saying that they used Epcot necessarily as a concept for that, but I will say that a lot of those transportation modes weren't used at the time, and perhaps we can look at Epcot and the legacy of Walt's original Epcot in those things. There are monorails. There are what you could maybe call people movers in different parts around different cities around the country. And a lot of the designs of cities around the countries could maybe have been influenced by Walt's original design. So unfortunately, we didn't get the actual city. We did get kind of a World's Fair thing, and now we don't even really have that. So, but I thought it was important to mention that as a concept, the original Epcot. So, anyways, let's move on to attractions, the weird attractions that are actually there. And the first one I want to talk about, John, is Spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth being the geodesic sphere that it is, it's a great dark ride inside of what people call a golf ball. Um, it talks about the history of human communication. So it's one of the few rides that are still left at Walt Disney World that actually try and educate. It's had a couple different versions, but pretty much it's always been about human communication. And I'd say the thing has evolved into what it's been or what it currently is. I think it's a great introduction to Epcot, at least for what the concept was supposed to be at one time. But man, what a great way to enter the park and just to see. It's like most parks, you see the what they call the weenie, the thing that brings your attention at the back of the park. This park has it right at the front of the park. So, John, what do you think about Spaceship Earth as being a weird attraction? You just don't see education rides like this at Disney World anymore.
it was always one of my favorites because, like I said, when I first went to Disney World, I was already around 20 years old, and I didn't grow up on Disney films, so the Magic Kingdom didn't move me that much. But when I got to Epcot, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And going inside of the world's largest geodesic sphere was just weird too. Like you go in there and you're like, I was just on a ride through a giant golf ball. It's one of those things that sticks in your head, and it may be the greatest weird part of Epcot. And all I can say too is I am glad they gave up on the um, update they were going to give to it, because as of right now, I don't want any ride that I actually like being updated, because Disney has been making really odd decisions and cutting way too much stuff that I don't want a half-hearted, half-done bad idea spaceship Earth, like I
Yeah.
would rather have the old one that people are bored of. It's like I'll take that for now. When Disney is performing better all around, go ahead and change it then, like when you're doing well. But I just feel like a lot of the stuff they've been doing lately would probably not reflect well on how Spaceship Earth would end up. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad they couldn't do it. One of the good things that came out of I can't say the name or we'll get a bunch of warnings on our video, but the sickness that came around, that
Yeah.
it helped cancel Spaceship Earth. So good on
Yeah.
that.
I mean, they were going to completely change the concept to a storytelling thing.
Hmm.
The thing's always been about communication in one way or another.
Yeah, I don't.
And
Yeah, I like the learning aspect of all of it. I
so do
hate
I.
the idea of getting rid of that, but that's the direction they're going. So, but again, if they can be slow enough and delay stuff enough, they may come back around to, we better keep this educational. Maybe.
I mean, if they do, and if they say they want to go in the direction of storytelling, there are many cultures around the world, from the Israelites to Africans to even some of the Eastern European cultures, where storytelling is an important aspect of their culture, and it is educational. So if that's the way they go, but knowing the way things have been recently, first of all, I don't think they have the talent anymore in imagination to pull, or in Imagineering anymore to pull such a thing off. And second of all, I just don't think they would do it without their IP. So, without using Mickey Mouse and the Fab Five. So,
Yeah, I agree. They'll say what's currently the most popular movie, which may or may not last into the future. So I just
yeah, yeah,
I just don't think rides based on the current latest greatest things the best idea. But
yeah.
I'm an old, I know.
It's not timely. It's timely, but it's not timeless, right? So,
Yeah, timely means you need a lot of expensive changes over a short amount of time. Time
right.
less means it's going to stand the test of
Yeah.
time. And this is why I always say that we're looking at Future World right now. I'm
Hmm.
still sad that they got rid of that, because I always say it took a few generations for people to learn to love it. And once they did, Disney's like, and now we're getting rid of all of it. It's like, kids that grew up there really, really appreciated it. When it first
Yes.
opened, people were a little confused. They were a little off. They were like, I don't know. But just as people grew to love it, they said, now we're going to change it. It's like, I still think that was a mistake. There's always could be updates and refurbishments, but demolishing the whole thing and changing it to neighborhoods. I see certain sites that try to reference these neighborhoods. They just don't click with me at all. I'm like,
I don't think they click with
it's,
anyone.
it's a giant pile of construction and the same pavilions that were there before the construction. Why would I be thinking of any new name for them? If I go over to the land pavilion, I'm not thinking, oh, this is world nature. It's like, it's the same pavilion that was there in the same place. And except for a giant construction walls in the middle, I don't see, I don't, and it just doesn't feel right either. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
hopefully I change my mind eventually, because I'm sure they're not gonna, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yep, I agree. All right, for our next weird attraction at Epcot, Journey into Imagination with Figment. And this ride uses an unconventional blend of education and entertainment. This ride has evolved quite a lot over the years. In fact, most people really are not fans of the current um, manifestation of the attraction. They appreciate the original and the second version that uses Dreamfinder, a human kind of steampunkish character. I personally saw both versions. I've seen all three main versions anyhow. There's been little changes here and there throughout the years, but out of the main three versions, I'd say I probably enjoyed the second version a little bit better. Um, I think honestly, John, something you would be familiar with is Chocolate World and Hershey.
Mm-hmm.
This and they didn't spend a ton of money, I think, on Chocolate World and Hershey. It's a free attraction there at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania. This ride always puts me in mind of that attraction, kind of along that line. This is not something currently that is necessarily, it doesn't scream Disney to me, but at the different points in time when this attraction was at its greatest, it definitely was completely weird, it still is weird. I mean, you have a talking purple dragon, right? But it was way better in my opinion and way weirder in the past. Currently, I don't know. It's in our list as a weird attraction just because Figment is weird, and there are still weird parts of the attraction, like the scene that you have on the screen with Figment squirting the rainbow. Like that part of the attraction still lives at the end of the attraction a little bit, you know, the spirit of it. The upside down Figment house still, you know, that part of it's weird. So, you know, overall, it's about using imagination. Imagination can obviously be weird. What's that? What did you say, John?
I was saying that this is the this was the original one that I saw.
Yeah. So you saw the second version,
Figment
which I think
Dream.
is the best. Yeah, I think
saw
that
it
was the
once
best version.
in the late 90s, and my thought getting off of it, it stuck in my head forever because it was so weird. And I remember thinking that must be what it's like to do drugs or something, because it was just unreal. You know, between the Dreamfinder and Figment and all those rooms of stuff going on everywhere, it was so. It was a crazy, crazy ride. So, but
And I think
I remembered it
Dreamfinder,
forever. We went on it once, and I never forgot it.
right. I think Dreamfinder was a great host for the ride too. You know, it was another created a human character that you could actually put out in the park and meet and greets. I never understood why they went away from that and went with the Eric Idle thing. It's not that Eric Idle did a terrible job with what they did. I mean, but again, they went from a non-IP original ride to try and use it as an IP driven ride. And, you know, other than Figment, they had the Flubber and Honey, We Shrunk the Kids IP, and they kind of shoehorned it into this attraction. And again, it's still strange. It still has a lot of different things that are going on that you will not see anywhere else, but you don't feel like you're on acid anymore, John, when you go through this ride. So I personally still like the ride, just short waits, and it's just fun to go through, you know.
I still like it too. It just feels like a kid's ride now, but
It
I
does.
do. I still enjoy it, and you know, I still like that Figment's in there and singing, and it's not the worst ride. But again, comparing it to the previous iteration, it's complete terrible, and that's why I'm often concerned when you know, when you hear people that say the Imagineers always make everything better. It's like, whether it's their fault or not, that's another story. But here's the perfect example of now. Sometimes they'd be better off just not touching things that are working well. So
I agree. I will say the design aesthetic on the outside of the ride, super cool. I love those, like that double pyramid type deal. Man, you can always rely on Epcot to have some strange, some weird designs for their attractions, and you definitely have it there. So, and right up on
hey,
the
maybe we should
screen
swap.
is Dreamfinder with Figment coming out of the Rainbow Tunnel. Man, I miss that tunnel.
Yeah, the fact that the rainbow tunnel's gone, maybe that's enough. It needs to come back. I'd
Yeah.
never seen that part. Like I don't know why, but I didn't. I or maybe I did and I just forgot it, but I don't remember seeing that part.
Yeah, it still would have been there in the late 90s, so they might not have been doing anything there at the time. So I think it was it varied as far as the times they used it, you know.
Mm.
So but all right. Let's move on to the next one, John. The Seas with Nemo and Friends and Turtle Talk with Crush. I know it's not the most popular ride, but it's still strange, and the history, particularly of this attraction, is strange. The Seas did not open up with the park. When they opened up the park originally, it was under construction. They couldn't get it done in time, mainly because of how massive the aquarium was. And I remember going to Epcot when it originally, you know, the year it opened, and this attraction was not, it was closed. And it gave us a reason to look forward to coming back in the future, you know, to see the pavilion in its original form. We did do that a few years later, and just it was a great educational pavilion. It's transitioned to an IP attraction more or less, but it still has that educational aspect with that massive aquarium. I believe
Yeah.
that is one of the largest aquariums in the world, John.
Well, it used to be. When they first came out, it was the largest aquarium in the world. Now I think it's the second largest in the US. So I don't know
Mhm.
where the larger ones are, but you know, places like Dubai and stuff, they make everything bigger and more impressive. So, but this gives you a little idea of the aesthetic back it was Sea Base Alpha because
Yep.
they didn't bother repainting under the water. So they kept that there. So, but I was gonna say for me, the ride is okay, but the aquarium is still the memorable weird part. Like actually
Mhm.
walking through the aquarium and just looking at everything in there. It's definitely not something that you think about, and then all of a sudden you are just on vacation, and bam, you're in a giant aquarium at Epcot. It's the contrast to the rest of your day makes it stand out. It's like going into a dark ride when the sun is blazing down on you. This one is just all of a sudden you're in a giant aquarium. It's like, wow, I was at Epcot. Now I'm in the middle of all these fish. So definitely a weirdness that always stuck with me and made me remember it well.
Yep, I agree with you. What is currently there as far as the attraction, the ride itself, the Nemo ride? At one time, I seem to remember them having more animatronics in that ride, and now it's a lot of screens. There's a lot more screens, anyhow. Uh, the that was kind of unique in as far and weird as far as a ride goes when they had those animatronics kind of glowing in the forefront with the dark background. I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember that being there at the time? They don't have that anymore, do they?
That was broken for a while, but I did recently record it. It was back on. It uses like
Okay.
a robotic arm in the background,
Yes.
and
It's called a Kuka arm.
so yeah, I thought that too, but I don't remember when, but recently I have been on it, and I remember it because I've been trying to capture it with different cameras for years because it's so dark that nothing comes up. And the last time I tried, I feel like I got it pretty good. Of course, I don't know where it is right now. It's somewhere in my thousands and thousands of videos, but
To me,
it,
that's a highlight of that ride because it is such a strange thing. You don't see it in a lot of attractions there.
yeah. I've never seen an animatronic on the end of a KUKA robotic arm
Yeah.
glowing. It's like very that's a very well done piece of it, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And, just to talk a little bit about Turtle Talk with Crush, I mean, it's a kids attraction. It's a show with a screen, and it's kind of cool because they have a live actor somewhere, interacting with the kids in the audience, asking them questions live, and just kind of joking with them and trying to identify with what they're saying. The kids can all go up towards the front, and it almost to them could kind of seems like Crush is directly talking to them. I just it's a lot of fun when you have a little kid in particular, and when you're older, it's kind of neat to go in there every once in a while, I think, and just appreciate what they're doing there. So I don't know about you, John. I don't know how many times you've gone in there, but
I've been in there a few times when my daughter was small, but I haven't been in there in years at this point.
yeah, I haven't either. My kids are now at the age, the younger two, where they'd probably appreciate that a little bit more, but they're going to be the last ones that go in there. So, all right, moving on. The next weird attraction, Mission Space. Again, not really the most popular ride at this time or attraction, but you're talking about an actual simulator, a space simulator, space flight ride. And NASA helped them build this ride and helped them come up with the concept for this attraction. This is very similar to the things that NASA uses to train their astronauts to prepare for space flight, particularly for the launching. So you don't get that in the other places other than Disney. As far as the history of the ride, you and I have talked in the past about how we sort of like the old video that when you came in, like the
The Gary Sinise
the Gary Sinise version. But really the ride itself hasn't changed too much other than the introduction of a more mild version of the ride, and that would be the orange. Is that the orange or the green? Isn't it orange and green?
the green is the uh, less intense, they say.
Right. So that one kind of stays in orbit around Earth, so to speak, right? And
Mhm.
the other one goes to Mars. So you go on a little bit of a different adventure depending on what you can handle. Um, I think this is almost one of the last attractions, newer attractions that was created that, in my opinion, sort of gave you that spacey or future feel there at Disney, at least at Epcot. What do you think, John?
No, I agree. And yeah, being on a real flight simulator is something that really does stick in your memory. Like it really is amazing. Like the first time that I went on it, my wife did not go on it. She didn't want my daughter going on it because she heard, somebody died on it because it's so intense and this and that. And, I think somebody did die on it, but as usual, there's other parts
There
to
were
it. Yeah,
factors, yeah.
there was other health issues. It wasn't the ride. It was, you know,
Heart issue. The child had a
yeah.
heart issue.
But anyway, I went on it, and I went on with three people that did not speak. There's four seats in there. I went on with three. They did not speak English, and this was early on, and the intensity was still turned way up. And I I followed the directions. They kept saying, keep looking forward. Even if you feel sick, look forward, do not look left or right. And I remember doing that, and then I looked over, and my co-pilots were all speaking, I don't remember which language, but a different language to each other. And I was thinking, I hope they don't really need these uh, what do you call it?
Barf bags.
Yeah, well, I hope they don't need these instructions.
No.
But it turns out they did, because at the end, luckily I went in first. And if you've ever been on the ride, the first
Yeah.
person in, the other door opens and you go out the same way. Because just as the ride stopped, all three of them started throwing up at once.
Oh wow.
And I literally stood up and I was just like, and I'm out. I'm out. Nothing got on me or anything else. I'm walking away thinking, oh my, that was, thank goodness I was first and not last. I don't know what would have happened, and I remember during the ride, they were talking to each other like this, looking back and forth. And again, the intensity has been turned down a bunch.
Yeah.
When it first came out, I I didn't get sick, but I felt kind of off the rest of the day, just
Yeah.
kind of off. And I'm like,
Me too. Me too.
but over the years, my daughter and I would ride it frequently, and it was memorable to ride, to feel those G forces. And to this day, it's a weird, one of a kind experience, because I don't frequent flight simulators. So to me, it still has that nostalgic feel. I don't go on it much anymore because, like we talked about earlier, this is one of those rides that no matter how fun it is, it doesn't really have that generational 30-year, we love this ride so much kind of feel. And the lines kind of reflect that. It's not a hard ride to get on anymore.
Right.
So weird though, and still unique.
It is. And actually the design at the front is one of my favorite parts. Like I love that little swooshy, mission space like globe, and the Martian globe in the front of the attraction. And there's different things in that pavilion too for kids to do, which is different. There's almost like a playground at the end, when kids can't go in there. So like I said, it's weird. Like you said, it's just a strange attraction, but one that pretty much only Disney, I feel, would do. I don't think you'd see something like this anywhere else. You probably wouldn't even see this at Disney nowadays.
No, but I was going to say, they did, I don't remember which ride it is, but I think one of the new Harry Potter rides, there is a talk of it being some kind of simulator. I'm sure not a flight simulator, but maybe something similar where it really. Yeah. But again, I don't remember. I just remember they talked about simulators on that. But
cool. That could be fun. Yeah. All right. So for our last weird attraction, I have Living with the Land. I did not say the Land Pavilion because I think at this point, as far as like Soarin', you have a couple different versions of that type of ride out there now. So it's not even specific to just theme parks. So I didn't say Soarin'. I don't think that it is weird and unique at this point. It was at one time. But one thing that is unique is Living with the Land. It's your boat ride through Epcot's greenhouses and agricultural facilities. And this is an active laboratory, active experimentation going on with the agriculture and aquaculture segments of the ride and in the greenhouses. It's very it showcases the sustainability of their agricultural techniques that they're experimenting on there. They actually use the some of the vegetables and fruits that are grown in the greenhouses throughout Walt Disney World. So that further adds to the sustainability idea. This is a very popular ride for you and I, John. We like this ride. We've talked about it a number of times, but it is a very weird ride. Maybe even the weirdest, I would say, ride at Walt Disney World, and not in some bizarre, like, trippy way or anything like that, but in what it's trying to do. So I've always loved this ride, even when I was a kid, just watching, just because of how weird it was, how different it was. So what are your thoughts on Living with the Land, John?
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those that really sticks with you too, because the first part is the animatronic slash scenes that they set up, and that was very memorable too, because I love animatronics. I love like seeing. I was always fascinated seeing the fake rainforest and the waterfall inside, and crocodiles and bugs and all the cool stuff. And then everybody's favorite, of course, one of the things that sticks in everybody's head is the farmhouse.
Yeah.
So that's always a fun one to see the farmhouse and stuff. So this really sticks in your head because you're inside, but you're outside enjoying all this. And then suddenly you watch a few movies about farming as you sail through, and you're in the research facility. It's just a very unique and amazing part of it. You know, it's I don't know why exactly, but it definitely it lulls you into it. And I've never gotten bored with this yet, because every time I go in here too, different plants, different cycles, different things are going on. And this last time I saw the WDW 50, they did have a big 50 in the one part where they're growing lettuce. They changed it, and my wife said, I bet it's 100 now, you know, for the 100-year anniversary, whatever they're doing. So just always unique. And then around Christmas time, it's beautiful too. They add Christmas lights in here, and it really is just a cool place. Like I said, I never got bored of Living with the Land yet. So
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about it is that you could see it as an attraction, like a standalone attraction somewhere, you know, at like a research facility. Like maybe it's something that, say, NASA would do or the government would do somewhere, and just trying to educate people on some experimental research they're doing. You know, I mean, obviously they wouldn't do it in this way, but it just puts you in mind of that. And this is just part of Walt Disney World, and it's been there since the day that the park is opened. So I personally enjoy the entirety of the ride. It's like you said, you have the animatronics at the front end with the dog barking and everything. You have the farmhouse, which if you go in the restaurant, the rotating restaurant above the ride itself, you will get a chance to look into the window of the house upstairs, at the upstairs window of the house, and that is as close as they could get to a recreation of Walt's childhood room in Marceline, Missouri, when he lived on the farm. So I always found that fascinating. And when you're in the boat, up in that window is Walt Disney's, like a recreation of Walt's childhood bedroom. And I just think all the details and everything on the attraction, I just really love it. And like you said, John, the Christmas, what do they call it? The merry and bright lights or something to that effect.
I think they changed it now, but that is what it was called. But
Yeah, so I really like it. And actually, in the laboratory towards the end of the one greenhouse where they kind of have different experiments actively going on. I've actually seen someone in there conducting experiments in the past. It's very rare to see it. Like, I've only seen it once in all the years that I've wrote it, but there was a young lady in there actually mixing up some kind of concoction and doing some experimentation in that laboratory. So it is an active lab, or at least it was at that time.
Yeah,
So
no, I still see people in it. I think I don't know when. I don't think it was the last time, but I
yeah,
could
well,
check the footage.
yeah,
No,
it's
nobody
looked,
was
no,
there, but I
nobody in
have seen
there.
somebody recently though. I almost feel like they're there like more like 9 to 5 kind of hours. You might find
Uh,
someone in there, but honestly, I don't know if they're doing anything or they're just like a greeter on break or something. You know, like they're not. I
yeah.
have no idea, but they do have a lot of people who work there, so I would imagine they need to use that.
Yeah, I mean, I've really learned a lot on plant techniques and things like that from that attraction. I've done more research after getting off the ride. Maybe that's because I'm a nerd. I don't know. But they also have a behind the scenes tour called Behind the Seeds for this attraction, which is really cool. It's you're not going to get too many tours like that anywhere else. So that's it. I left this one for the last because I do think that's kind of the weirdest attraction, in my opinion, at Walt Disney World. We could talk a little bit about different things, such as the countries and stuff like that. But, you have other parks that have countries in them, so I didn't find that the countries themselves are unique themselves, but some of the attractions and some of the rides definitely are, like the one we're looking at right now on your screen, John.
I was gonna say we got to give an honorable mention to going into the Mexico Pavilion in the middle of a hot sunny day, and all of a sudden you're at a Mexican market at night, and the clouds are going by, and there's a Mayan pyramid in front of you, and really, really cool atmosphere. So again, it is memorable, but the World Showcase has a lot of little things like that. But to me, this is probably the highlight of all that. Just the look and feel of this one. But
I agree.
and
The
again, out of all the parks, Epcot had the most weird stuff, and it still does, even though they're working on getting rid of it slowly.
Yep, and I would agree with that, and that's why I wanted to leave Epcot for the last, because it is the weirdest of all the parks, in my opinion, just because of the different things like this that you're talking about. Even with the countries having attractions and things like that. So it used to be a lot weirder. We could go into the history and look at Maelstrom and some other things that were just completely weird. I mean, Maelstrom was bonkers, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was something. It was very fun. But I guess I would say Epcot started out as a concept from Walt Disney. They didn't use it. It was too ambitious for what they were able to do at the time. So they turned it into a World's Fair concept, which is something else hand in hand with Walt Disney over the years. And now I'm not really sure what it is, John. It's kind of directionless. I mean, it's a festival park, I guess, is what I would say.
That's basically what it is. Every festival they had, and those used to be unique too. Like when they'd have a flower and garden festival, they used to have like they had a cranberry display where you could take your shoes off and wade in, and you'd feel what it's like to harvest cranberries using water. And they would use like the Wonders of Life Pavilion as the festival hub, and there'd be
Hmm.
gardening classes in there on how to do things taught by horticulturalists from EPCOT, like would teach you how to do things and just really special things. And now every festival is the food and wine festival with something else added, like Flower and Gardens food and wine with topiaries and some flowers. And Festival of the Art is food and wine, but you can also buy artwork around the parks. So and Christmas, the holiday festival, I'm sure that's just food and wine with Christmas theme. You know, it's like there's not some of these, and then Flower and Garden was the one that had the most special stuff. Like it used to be sponsored by like John Deere or something. You could go and see tractors and just you could all this stuff. I don't really see any of that anymore. Now it's simply we got new drink and food. Come on down to Food and Wine Flower and Garden version. And, you know, we all still go, but for me, it's missing something. The special weirdness of it.
Yep, and you're right. And also, since they did started doing these festivals, just about every other park across the country, they're doing festivals now. So it's not unique anymore to do these festivals. So that's not really weird. So that's why I didn't really mention too much on the festivals, just because it's just not weird anymore. I mean, the grandiose of how they do it is different. The topiaries are absolutely gorgeous. They do a great job with it, no doubt there. And each festival has its own kind of unique thing that they do very, very well, and better than most other parks. I'd say probably all other parks. But with that said, it's not unique. It's not strange anymore. And also, like I said, with the countries themselves, not unique, not strange. You have, is it Busch Gardens? Williamsburg is themed in a country style. Obviously, it doesn't have pavilions, but it has different countries that it's themed after. Busch Gardens in Tampa has like different African themes and things like that in different parts of the parks, the park. So it's just not necessarily a unique thing as what it was at one time. So, but with that said, it's still weird. It's still Disney weird, and you will not get Epcot anywhere else in the world. So, and a very unique park, much like Animal Kingdom is to Walt Disney World. You won't find it at any of the other Disney parks. So, all right, John, how did your week in social media go?
I don't even know. Not great, but I can say I have reduced the amount of time that I spend looking at this stuff greatly. Like the bonus period officially ended, and you know what that does for me is I've been posting a lot less, and now I see too that they started to sell blue check marks. And they said part of if you buy that for a monthly fee, part of it is you'll have increased reach. Well, where do you think that reach has to come from? They got to take the people who don't pay and push it to the people that do a little bit. So I can say that my reach has been drifting down like the past week. But the difference between now and before was I would be like, wow, I need to fight this because I need to get my bonus. I'm gonna lose money. Now I'm like, my reach is going down, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna keep posting. What does it mean to me? My sales aren't. I don't sell anything. My sales aren't nothing. It literally isn't doing anything to me. So again, I'm gonna keep going. But my Disney has always been broke, meaning it caps off anyway. And I looked at my reach, and again, there's like 8 different days where it stops at the exact same time and just goes no further. And I'm like, it's pretty much nonsense anyway. So I'm not concerned about it. When you don't give me any bonus and I have no reason to care, and then you start taking my reach away. I'm like, yeah, you can have it at this point. My Universal up to 124,000 followers, and that one's actually doing good though. 4.8 million accounts reached in the last 30 days. Although the most recent is stepping down again. Like they're pulling it back down to fix that kind of thing. I need to pay if I want reach, but again, I can't even pay because you have to have your name on it. And if I use my name, do I use it on my Disney or my Universal? Because I don't think you can use the same name over and over again too, but maybe you can. But again, I just don't know. If there was a reason to care, maybe I would do that. But my only concern is they may bring back the bonus in some form, and with my luck, it'll be only for the people who pay for the blue check mark, and it'll be like, oh, because would I pay $15 a month to make $1,000 a month? Well, yeah, that's a great investment. But to just pay with absolutely no reason for it, it's not really exciting. So, and then I have 81,000 followers on TikTok, and my interest in that comes and goes. Like, I definitely will keep posting on there. At this point, my goal is to accumulate enough money on YouTube and TikTok. And with them, like at least with TikTok, you don't have to collect any of your money. So sometime next year, I'm going to ask TikTok for some money, like out of the creator fund. It just accumulates till you ask for it. That way I still get a 1099 so that for tax purposes I can write off Disney, but instead of making money on this, it will be a major loss that I can apply against my taxes. So it's still something. But it is amazing when all this stuff started. I thought to myself, I made it to over 100,000 on 2 accounts. I always heard how much money you make in social media and stuff. And for a very brief time, I was making like $3,000 or $4,000 in a month, and I'm like, wow, I finally made it. And then it dropped down to, like 500 to 1,000, and then it dropped out even further, and then it went to 0. And I'm like, wow, that making it sure didn't last long. I went from feeling like I finally made it to I'm right back to where I started from, regardless of how many followers I have. It means nothing. I'm still right back to where I started from. So, anybody has any ideas on how to monetize my followers, let me know.
Yeah, come up. If there's any sponsors out there for John and his stuff and his videos, that'd be great. Could use it.
The problem is, if you're interested, you could just steal the ones you want and use them.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
Matter of fact, buy a checkbox, take my videos, and just use them all. You'll probably be very successful.
Probably.
Probably make money and get sponsors and everything.
That's good. Beyond insult and injury, John. That's what that is.
That's the more stuff I see like that, the more it makes me think, why do I keep providing free stuff for people? It would actually hurt people if I stopped. The people who use my stuff, they'd have nothing left they'd have to look somewhere else to get videos. So
yeah,
although they might start thinking it soon, because again, there's been a lot of days where I looked and it's like, the last time I posted was a full day ago, and I'm like, I guess I should post something soon, but don't really feel that motivated for it. And even before this, I think my last bonus for Disney was like $249 or something. And I really tried. Like I put my best videos I could muster up, and it just was going in this direction anyway. So they just kind of clipped it instead of letting it die slow. They were like, and we'll just end it. It's like, so again, it was going in that direction anyway. It literally was just one month was worse than the next. So.
Yeah.
But we shall see how it all works out, though. You never know; they might come out with something. I'm hoping they do some kind of ad sharing on Instagram, because while I only get $1 on Facebook, I've got 100 times the followers on Instagram, so that could be in the hundreds of dollars, which is better. It's still not the greatest thing, but it's something. So. And the other thing that I'm going to have to start doing, like last year, I went to, the Halloween party, the Christmas party, all this stuff. And I'm like, well, it's a business expense, technically. I post videos, I make money, I spend money. I don't think I'm going to go to either of those this year, because they're probably going to be pretty much the same as they were last year. And I don't want to waste too much money on stuff like that. Like if I'm not making any money on it, I can use last year's videos. No one would even notice. So it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. I always say I don't really necessarily think those events are worth it, to go to every year, because they recycle the same things over and over again for the most part. I mean, if you're an Uber fan and you want to see certain things that go on each year at like the a show or something like that, then I'm gonna get it. But nothing's gonna change. Yeah, I'm not either. And me, I'm not really caring too much about parades and things like that. So, so. All right, John, where can they steal your stuff online from?
From anywhere, but mostly SeeWDW on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, and C.UO on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, you can find me at The Giant Rat, THEE Giant Rat, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube. And just a reminder, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and subscribe. And also next week, John, it looks like we're going to be talking about Spaceship Earth next week.
Ooh, I'm very interested in that.
Yep, and that's going to be a good one. We are going to go through the history of Spaceship Earth, talk a little bit about what we hope does and doesn't happen in the future of Spaceship Earth, but mostly talk about the experience itself and our personal experiences with the ride, that is, and talk again about everything to do with Spaceship Earth. So we will see you on the next one.